All right, I see YouTube successful, Karen. You get your Facebook so far?
Good morning. My name is Kenneth Stroud, and I am the Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association. Today, we have a webinar entitled Inclusion Through Accessibility, which is a very broad topic. And joining me on the panel this morning will be Mr. Patrick Lafayette and Mr. Karen Gunnis from Trinidad and Tobago. And Mr. Patrick, we had a friend, you say you come all over the place. So Patrick has a wealth of information to share today, and we believe is a great opportunity for persons to join us, and we will be opening up for comments during the proceedings. So I will first ask Mr. Karen Gunnis to introduce himself and how he would like us to know who he is. And please remember that this will be recorded and it will be shared on our Facebook site and also YouTube, and also be in our archives to share within our community. So thank you all very much for joining us. And I now invite Mr. Karen Gunnis to let us know who is Karen Gunnis.
Okay, so good morning to each and every one of you. Good morning to those of you who are listening outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to our webinar 2025 discussing information technology. Now, who is Karen Gunnis? Karen Gunnis is a Trinidadian. I'm from South Trinidad. I consider myself an assistive technology specialist. I use technology in my everyday life, in my work life, my social life, my recreational life, and so on. And I see where the benefits of assistive technology can carry one further or to take care of their daily tasks. So I'm an employee of the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association for over 20 years now and enjoying it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gunnis. And I now invite Mr. Patrick Lafayette to let us know who is this. I mean, he's a brother to me, very kind person. Is someone that if any type of help we need, he is there. But Mr. Patrick, you let the community know who is Patrick Lafayette.
Greetings and beg your pardon. Greetings and salutations to each and every one of you. My name is Patrick Lafayette, and I'm a VIP. I'm a visually impaired professional. Been blind since I was 16 years of age, and had a journey. I've had a journey where the first thing I understand is that despite the fact that I'm visually impaired, I'm totally blind, I still have to exist in a sighted world. So I have worn several hats throughout my professional career, but at this time, the hat that I will choose to present has to do mostly with accessibility, my daily living, my daily earning, and my daily teaching. And it's a pleasure being here with you today and getting a chance to express some of my knowledge and to receive knowledge on the other side. So, where we will normally deal with technology, this morning I'm hoping to deal with give knowledge. I'm not take nothing from nobody. Patrick
So
Lafayette, and I'm on the side.
lovely. And what we're going to do, this conversation, it will not be moving, asking Karen and ask Patrick. It's going to be an exciting morning, and I expect Karen and Patrick to jump in at any time. So Patrick and Karen, I am 68 years, and while growing up, being low vision, and then after being totally blind, I would have gone through different experiences and how we move from low tech to high tech. Could you all, Karen probably a little younger than us, Patrick, and so we will get two contrasting scenarios about how, while growing up from low tech or maybe no tech to low tech to medium to high tech, and how it impacted on our lives, or both of your lives. Karen or Patrick, you want to jump in on that question?
You want to go, Karen?
Yes.
Okay, so all right, just had some challenges there.
Take it
Muted.
chronologically, take your time, because I want you to build on it so the younger ones could know at different stages what they have and how to appreciate it and what we went through to get where we are today.
Yeah, because I remember in my well, actually when I went to school after finishing secondary school, I wanted to get involved in IT, and because of that dream and goal, I started to think about where I can do courses and things like that. And in 2002, I started a basic. So I just given here where it started, a basic course in information technology through the W.R. Torres Foundation for the Blind in San Fernando, Trinidad, where we started actually learning how to use assistive technology, which is where we use screen readers and so on. Now I remember asking myself, what is this I'm hearing? I'm not understanding what is this. How could I learn this keyboard? Because I'm listening to something and I'm pressing keys and I'm hearing it. Do I even know where the cursor is? What I'm talking about? Because I did one or two computer courses before, so I'm familiar with how the machine operates, basically. But I'm hearing there's like jumping into something brand new, which was at that time strange, very strange. Now, in doing that and getting accustomed or getting, as we say in Trinidad, feel of it, or what I would say, passion would have been increased, because I had passion then, and even at that time, So coming using the technology, I went to one practice because my teacher at that time taught me you have to learn this entire keyboard in 2 sessions. They say like the back of your hand. So going on and practicing this keyboard and learning to use this keyboard at that time was confusing because you're here in the screen, you're talking in the ears, and you want to know what's going on here. And of course, I was successful in the classes and so on. And moving from then I got getting a computer and got going to school and doing typing and doing emails and so on. Little technology. You have little things like talking watches. At that time, phones was not available, so smartphones with the screen reading software. So you have to depend on somebody to tell you what is on the screen and things like that on your cell phone. And growing up from that to now, it is a great change, And in my life, I mean, in the life of the TTBWA and the technological life.
Great concept. So, Patrick, I want you to take it differently now. With our days of slate and stylus, Perkins Braille, typewriter that when you type, you think it had things on the typewriter or on a blank sheet. From Braille watches, talking watches to. So, take it step by step how you evolve as an individual to where we are today.
The most
And don't
important
forget
word,
magnifying glasses for for the low vision person as we go along.
yes, the most important thing in our realm as people with visual challenges, one word, access. Access is the most important thing. Knowledge is the most important thing. Reading is the most important thing. When I lost my vision, reading was a loss to the point of almost panic. But then, next time reading, Braille. Braille is forever. It will be forever. That, first and foremost, is how you learn how to read, how to spell, if you've never had the occasion to. Braille is forever. And if you don't know the story about Braille, access it. We come back to access again. I was fortunate enough to be living in the United States, where every printed material, anything that's ever published, is a repository at the Library of Congress. And US law permits a blind or low vision person to access all of that information either by Braille, large print, or audio. They shouldn't have done that to me. I was pulling in 54 audiobooks a month,
Jeez.
reading, learning, because I was hungry. The next thing that came to us was a machine called the Opticon.
Mhm.
You could put your finger on it, and it would give you electrical impulses of the shape of the letter. It's cumbersome. Remember, we're coming from Braille.
Yes.
Slate and stylus was one source of input, and the Braille writer from Perkins was another. Far more efficient because you're writing from left to right as you would regularly. With a slate and stylus, however, you're writing backwards. Exercise the brain a little bit more, and the fingers. From the Opticon, company by the name of Hunter Joyce, Ted Hunter, constructed a program called Job Access with Speech. I was introduced to that program at an early stage. That's when I even met Ted Hunter and a few of the programmers. I did some beta work with them. But it was more than just the screen reading software that I was interested in. The computer talks to me. But what else can I do with this? My brother, who was a computer genius, said, learn the computer also. Not just use, but construct. The computer consists of 9 primary pieces to make it. Find out and make it. I made my first computer, and it blew my mind because it worked. The days of floppy disks and a
Wow.
disk operating system called DOS.
Yeah.
Later on, Microsoft came in with a system that allowed you to multitask more than one activity at once in different windows. As a matter of fact, they called it Windows. When visually impaired and blind people made a transition to Windows, That was a whole new world for us. We now had access to other things. And during the emergence of the internet, where we used to use things like electronic bulletin boards, the precursor, that was another level and another stage. Emails. You could send an email from one point to another and the person would get it. Wow. Now everyone has an email address and an Instagram page, even a dog. Then we evolved even greater to assistive units and software like Siri, Alexa, hey Google. Now we've emerged to an even greater level where artificial intelligence is a part of our world. Learn it, know it, understand it, be a part of it, because it's now our world.
Lovely,
Find
Patrick.
out how it can make you an independent living person, how it can improve your skills and make you far more independent in terms of communications, in terms of access, and in terms of productivity. Stand aside for the time being. Thank you.
So, Karen, Patrick raised one of the key factors pertaining to legislation. The reason why I'm saying that slowly, the access to information or to technology should not be an afterthought. It should be the correct thing to do. Karen, I want you to give me a background, the importance, because we build in this conversation about the importance of legislation and how it assisted Patrick. And when we look at the Caribbean, probably at that time, legislation was probably non-existent pertaining to persons with disabilities. Correct?
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I would add to that to say we would need to have these things implemented in the Caribbean because, as Patrick was saying, and as we would all agree, that after post-COVID-19, a lot of services, products, daily activities went online. And one of the things that we are embarking in at the TTBW level is website accessibility and website and app accessibility. To persons who are listening who are not sure what that means, is simply once quote unquote sighted persons are able to access a website or an application on their smart device, we as persons who are blind or visually impaired must be able to do the same as you are. So whether it be on a smart device or computer, etc., we must be able to access the same information. We talk an access of information. And once the legislation is not there, yes, we can talk all we want in terms of getting this website or app accessible. But once the legislation and laws are not there, it makes it a bit challenging. It just goes on probably person's discretion or probably feeling sorry for, as I said, the blind one, But as well as in addition to that, we need legislation to for accessible in terms of subsidize different technology because technology is very expensive. So the whole broad term of having legislation would bring some kind of protection for persons who are blind or vision impaired.
Okay, so Patrick, I want you to this because you raised the importance of legislation, policies for the disabled that must be accompanied procedures, goods and services. Give us the power of law and how it impacts on persons who are blind or persons with disabilities to having access to technology or access to the built environment.
Jamaica is now approaching, well, it's just completed its second year of passing the Disabilities Act. A moratorium of 2 years will be given to organizations, private, public sector, to comply with certain rules and regulations. As Karen just mentioned, accessibility to websites. That's one thing. It's a must. We have to have parity, equal access. Simple things like ramps for wheelchairs. You want to notice something funny, ladies and gentlemen? Most IT departments where the computers are located are never usually on the first floor. And it usually requires access to that. And if you don't have a ramp or elevator, what do you do with a person in a wheelchair? So simple planning, simple approach, legislation covers these things. You as a low vision and totally blind person should be able, must be able to have equal access. The playing field wouldn't be level. You would not be able to compete. You'd be a constant beggar. On the other hand, with access, with parity, with balance, there is room for competition. And not only can we compete with proper tools and access, we can also win, which we often do. Now, the rules have to be clearly defined. One, what is it? It just jumped out of my head. Where, because of this, we now have access to reading material. Help me out with this, Kenneth.
The Marcus Shruti?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because I was coming to that question. So if you only could deal with it one time, and Karen, you could jump in on it after. So if you can bridge it
Please.
into
But
your
that's
statement.
yes. Remember, they have access to the the Library of Congress. 54 books a month. When you have access to information, as we now do on the internet, and will have with this access to library material, knowledge is power. You compete on the mind. Number one. Number two, blind people chat enough. We talk a lot. We love to talk, and most of us have beautiful voices. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a source of revenue. A lot of us also are musically inclined, very good. I sometimes cry a little bit in my heart because that's a natural resource that our Caribbean countries create. We love to train our visually impaired and blind young people how to be musicians, but we don't monetize it and use it as a product.
Mhm.
There are things we can do that can be monetized and used as a product. Remember, we love to talk and we have beautiful voices. Why aren't we in call centers that's adaptive to us? Let me sit down because I'll start and I don't want to stop. I get vexed.
So Patrick, so Karen, I want you to, we want to go now to the level, we building this thing slowly. There's a parent who is blind or maybe sighted, have a child who is blind. How could we use technology to stimulate that child so that in the absence of sight, that child is stimulated by sound and smell and taste and touch and so on, and using, it doesn't have to be high tech, low tech, whatever level, because nowadays we see children who are not disabled, straight out of the womb, you drop a tablet in their hands and off the bat, they're ready to roll. Karen, you want to make any statement on that? Because we're
So,
dealing with helping the parent who may be blind or sighted and that child who's blind, to give them a fair crack at the whip to succeed in this world.
So part of the job which I of the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare level of IT instructor, I have dealt with a number of children in the past years. I remember one child coming to see, he was 5 years then, and now he's an adult, and I actually put him on my lap to teach him because he couldn't reach the computer. So at that stage in life, I mean, as Mr. Surratt said, you know, we use hold on, we use low-tech stuff. So of course, at that stage, the child wouldn't understand what a screen reader is. So you would use things like sound to get him or her accustomed with hearing, for example, a screen reader. So I'll play the screen reader, I'll play a little sounds on probably YouTube to understand and get accustomed with hearing, because in using the screen reader, you must be able to hear. Must be able to understand what the device is, what the screen reader is saying, because it's according to the term we learn long time, it's your eyes. So growing up, through then, we introduce them to technology. We show them how technology can benefit their lives. Of course, at not 5 years, not even 6, probably not even 7. Probably when they're like 8 or 9 or even 10 years of age. And
Okay.
because of that, you know, and then we have children who use these technology because we give them basic stuff. And once you like what you get, or you have the passion for it, you go further, because we have persons. So we have a guy online right now. I'm sure you'll be chatting with him later, as where technology brought him and where it will carry him. We have many children. We have persons who are in university at the moment. We have persons who are working, who are employed, came to class right at the TTBWA and received their training and benefiting. We have persons who enjoy a nice game, enjoying lovely games on their smart device, their computers. Where it took us to where it is such a marvelous thing. Eh? I am just happy to live in these times, and we will see what's coming next.
So yes, so Patrick, we have the scenario, blind or
If
sighted
I-
parent,
If I may,
and we have this child who is blind. How do we stimulate this child to give them a similar experience like the child who doesn't have a disability, so that they could really succeed in this world?
well, if I may, and just add to Karen's presentation a while ago,
Mhm.
how he basically introduced the interest of the child in the technology. I'm approaching from a different additional view, if I may. Now, let's say he was what, about 4, maybe, Karen? And he was low
Yeah.
vision.
4 or 5.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
let's say
Yeah.
this child.
I'm going less than that, Patrick.
Let's say this child is 2 years old.
Right.
Exactly.
What do we do?
And you need to stimulate this child.
Mhm.
This child has never had vision.
Zero vision.
What's amazing about children, their ability to learn. That child wouldn't know anything about vision, and he would learn. How would he learn? They might be twins, one with vision, one without. Why
Mhm.
give one tablet? Give 2.
Right.
Though the far-sighted one can navigate, zoom, 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 and go play his games, the low or no vision child, by turning on voiceover, the parents can do that. That child amazingly will learn how to navigate even on his own. Children are brilliant. Let's add another mix to that. Leave that child sighted, let's say. You have a sighted 2-year-old, but the parents are blind. How do you monitor that child?
Mhm.
When they reach the terrible 2s, they get into all kinds of issues. You can't see. With tools, you can. Simple tools on your phone. I introduced a girlfriend who has a youngster who's 2 years old and sighted and very mischievous, the little fellow. Introduced her to Google AI Studio. And it's not an application, it's just a website. You go, you turn on the microphone, you turn on the camera, you point the back camera and say, "What is he doing?" And the camera said, "Well, he's climbing on a chair to go onto the desk and he's unplugging a plug, a telephone charger plug." That's what the little man was doing. He was climbing up on the desk and unplugging stuff, as she could tell. So even from a parent's advantage, the tools can be beneficial.
And it levels the playing field and brings a level of inclusivity.
Yes.
So I want to
Yes.
throw in, Patrick, I want to throw in the mix here now, where we have specific software for for persons who are blind, probably screen readers and so on. And then you have where you have universal design. Where does one start and the other one stops? Or where does it overlap? What are the benefits? Because we don't want all to be universal design. Sometimes you may need specific software for the particular situation. So, Karen, we'll take Patrick and then come back to Karen.
Now,
So,
Karen, you want to take this or?
Go first. Go ahead, Karen.
repeat the question there.
The question is, yes, universally designed software that straight out of the box, anybody could use it.
Yeah.
Blind person, sighted, hearing, whoever, and there are certain software that must be designed to accommodate persons with disabilities. In this instance, a specific screen reader, but you may have like Windows straight out of the box.
Yeah.
They may have narrator and so on, and screen magnification,
Right.
but it may just scratch the surface or meet the minimum law requirement. And sometimes you may need something more detailed to assist you in the job or at school so that you could be efficient and you could be effective.
Good. So,
I don't know
persons
where
who
does
have-
which one start, or should we push for universally designed products, and wherever necessary, we go into the specifics of
yeah. I think we could leave the options open because just like as we say, tools in a toolbox, you have different tools for different purposes. So I'll come back to that because I'm sure persons who are on this meeting today, you have a phone in your hand, you have an Apple phone or you have an Android phone. So if you go to settings, if you go to accessibility, and you'll see on the Apple, you'll see something called voiceover, as well as you'll see magnification and zoom. On the Android, you will see talkback as well as magnification and zoom. So that's what we're talking about here, straight out of the box. You purchase Android, you purchase Apple, you turn on your accessibility. Notice I'm not just saying screen reader, but you turn on your accessibility. And also, by the way, with the updates and so on in 2025, we have Braille accessibility as well on these devices, and you have use of the device. So based on the American Disability Act, all devices must come accessible, even Windows, even Macintosh, your Mac, Google, your Chromebooks, your the tablet, the Samsung tablets or the other brands of tablets. The accessibility is there. It's just a matter of turning on, and you have your device at your fingertips, so you can be efficient, you can be effective. And the other point to this is whether you have like other software that persons are like to install. You have like third-party screen readers, like you have the typical which Patrick mentioned before, Job Access with Speech, JAWS. We have NVDA, which is non-visual desktop access, that can be installed on Windows. Now, again, we talked about tools in a toolbox before. So, persons might say, yes, we have the built-in narrator that comes on Windows. That is straight out of the box. But then persons might say, JAWS gives you better access to this website or this document. NVIDIA does better on the DJ software. NVIDIA does better in programming, writing code. So we have, again, our tool. Take out one tool, take out the spanner to do this, take out the wrench to do that. So you take out the NVIDIA to do X, so you take out the JAWS to do that, or using narrator to do X, Y, Z. So the toolbox is there, the opportunity is there. We need to take advantage of it.
Yes, so Patrick, in days gone by, for a blind person to use a computer, you have to pay for extra software. You have to pay for extra hardware. Braille wasn't on the head standard, so sometimes Braille display wouldn't appear with devices. Now, I think Apple and Android going for the head standard, the human interface devices, plug and play. Give some feedback on the importance of universally designed items to what it used to be, and maybe the cost factor.
One of the amazing things that's happening in the world of technology, most of the tools are being built from ground up with accessibility in mind. One thing we also have to mention is the increasing rate of blindness, and most especially in the Caribbean basin. Diabetes is a major factor. And another factor is aging. As people get older, they get vision loss. A lot of people aren't too savvy with the technology. And based on this, there's a push by the various industry creators of these accessibility tools to be far more friendlier, far more accessible, less complicated in maneuverability, etc., etc., etc. Now, we spoke of Android phones, and we spoke of Apple phones, but there are other tools in terms of phones that's available for the complete idiot. Excuse the expression.
Yes, that's it.
So, despite the fact that you have a visual issue, be it low or no, and despite the fact that your ability to grasp the technology, the thought is there for even those people. So, accessibility, again, it comes around to that one word. Your ability to access just as equally as everybody else, despite your challenge. Could be age, could be medical condition, whatever the key issue may be. Knowledge is key. And if you can seek and obtain that knowledge, you can find just about every which way tools to do just about everything nowadays. For those who can't even touch the screen and do the stuff they need to do, you can talk to the unit and it will respond and do what you ask. So based on your challenge, there are tools out there that can meet that challenge and take you over the hump.
So we've been building now the child, we in serious education, maybe primary school, secondary school, or university. How does technology play in your life, Karen, or in general? How do we use that technology not only to attend school now, but to succeed? And hopefully one of these days in Trinidad and probably in the Caribbean, we could start hearing persons who are blind not only succeeding, but winning scholarships and achieving and excelling using technology. How can technology help in the classroom, help the teacher to interact with that student who is blind instantly instead of long ago when you have to wait for some diagram to be drawn before you get it in an accessible format for you? While the class gone way ahead, you now get in your diagram based on the different type of technology. How could this impact in the classroom in real time? Karen?
Yeah, right here. Right. So as we talk discussion, very interesting thus far. And where we see technology came from to now, assistive technology that is. And well, at this level, a lot of times getting access to information, for example, is a bit challenging now, but with the advancement of technology, assistive technology is there. So children go to school now, and we have different devices where you can magnify, if you're using magnification, low vision persons magnify the, for example, a diagram, and have the person, okay, understand what is going on when the teacher is teaching. We are the TTPW, Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association. At this point in time, I just have to mention this because I'm part of this proud. I'm very, very happy I'm part of this organization. And, we came a long way, and we're going very, very good. And we continue to strive and provide services to persons who are blind and visually impaired, including children, because we normally would give, when children write or completes their SEA exam, we will provide tablets for them, make it accessible in terms of the screen reader, screen magnification software, etc., as well as provide books. Their books, take note, their books on accessible format. So when they go to school now, they are able to read their books using either TalkBack or magnification, and all, just not just books, but in accessible format. That's the key word. And in terms of diagrams, in terms of graphs and things like that, and getting the level of inclusivity be fulfilled, because they can, even at secondary school level, university level, kindergarten level as well, primary school level, we are there with the children providing these services. And even when they at the level of writing exams as well, we are there to provide services with them. And because no child must be left behind, no child will be left behind, none. And I know once we are around, we will have the services up and running or continuing. And as well as even going forward in university, we have persons who are there in university. We have persons who are at the level of tertiary college, because I worked with a gentleman by the name of Aiden Ali a couple of months ago to make sure his life in that school is comfortable in terms of technology. And so far it's going good.
Okay, so Patrick, in the classroom with technology in real time, because we came from a long time where you didn't get material on time, but that child as we want to call it, touch learning, or learning through touch and sound using the other senses. How does technology impact not only to go to the school, but to succeed, to achieve, win scholarship, and excel? How does technology work, maybe low, medium, or high tech?
Comes around always to access. I can remember prior to access going to college and writing a term paper using a Smith Corona typewriter, electric typewriter. Remember that, Ken?
I remember the Olympus. I think it was Olympus they call it. Old. That was some serious time. You type out a lesson, and when you check the paper, still blank, and the ribbon slip out, or it wasn't working.
Don't make an accidental mistake and press a K when you're supposed to press a L and hope to go back and fix that.
Yeah.
Because you had to use the wipeout.
Yeah.
Those are the days that I'm glad we got to a stage where we could hear what we're doing. The low vision person can magnify what's there to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So when a youngster has access, remember, you got to read all these textbooks. They get homework. How do you pursue that with your child? Easy. The tools are there. If it's low vision, you have various realms of magnification. You can have a handheld unit that has a light around the rim. So not only will it brighten the page, but it will magnify the page if the lighting is needed for the child or even the adult. Because we can't forget, as people get older, the vision sometimes decrease. And with diabetes on the rise, which is a major contributor to vision loss. So the tools are there. I know people who give up on work because they go low vision or sightless, lack of information. The tools are there. Keep saying that. Now you have your child, and let's pass the 2-year stage. Let's even pass the 5-year stage. Let's go to a stage of challenging. Early teenage, 13 to 16. Simple things as games. A youngster want to take part and be just as normal as his counterparts who are visual. The tools are there. Xbox, PlayStation, all of that. Most of them now come accessible. So normality is maintained in terms of child growth. They can participate. I was introduced to something that I didn't know about, and it's not technology. And my Trini family did. Blind cricket, an amazing sport.
Yeah.
An amazing sport, ladies and gentlemen. If you are sighted and you've never seen or experienced, check it out. It's the usage of the senses. Necessity is the mother of invention. Our children are born with intelligence. It's we who retard it. They're natural learners. Give them the tools. The tools are available. Some are high end in cost, and some are moderate in cost. Institutions such as the Trinidad Welfare Association, of which Kenneth is a major player, is an organization that you can approach that will willingly assist. And there are others in other islands, in other countries, that would willingly assist. On the school level, in the United States, because of the legal aspect of accessibility, the government will deal with from schooling to employment opportunity for a blind or low vision person. I took part on one level with that process. I was a VR counselor. And as a VR counselor, vocational rehab, I had to find blind folks and low vision folks jobs. And if it didn't exist, we had to carve out a sector or source of employment. We would equip that individual with the tools to efficiently perform the duty and task. So one can still be economically viable and competitive with.
Patrick, you are segueing into what my next topic, and that is after all this education, we need to employ persons who want to enjoy the finer things in life, and sometimes not only the high-tech jobs, but based on the role that you are playing pertaining to employment. Could you break it down so the youngsters who are listening, I mean, while you're doing your higher education to get a better job, what are some of the like sighted children may selling those fast food outlet while they go to school, making a little money, taking care of themselves, going to college, university. How can someone who is blind do something similar, participate in low-end work while they go to school to develop and pay this? Sometimes the parent may not have the resources and they also have to contribute. give us a breakdown in a sort of detail before we open up the line for questions, how this is possible. Because you and I have been having some conversation on that, but I want the rest of the team here to hear what is possible as persons who are blind, not always only about high-end jobs or whatever it may be. It could be a low-end job, and you can get it done by simple adaptation or dividing up the work into workflow and seeing what the blind person can do and get them to do it.
The level of competence of the visually impaired, low and blind community is amazing. Amazing. Most of these young people are gifted on another level. They blow my mind. And each and every one that I've met so far are quite competent in the use of their handheld device or even their computer. They're wicked. That's all I can say. These young people, they're bad. Now, a lot of them also are on social media. That's it. And they know how to navigate on social media. You know how many companies out there that rely on social media that can't find enough people to assist them to maintain their presence on social media? There's one avenue. There's a lot of stuff out there. People are begging for people to contract them to do all manner of things. Writing, voiceover, social media posts, you name it. Because again, a lot of people aren't that the tools. It puts you at an advantage to gain that level of efficiency, knowledge, fitness. You have less distraction as a visually impaired person sometimes. Visual can be a distraction sometimes. Not that we don't get distracted. We do, but just a little less. So one of the major things that we have available to us is access. With the advent of artificial intelligence, one of the things that we have advocated for in the Caribbean basin is inclusion. Certain rules and regulations have to be in place in regards to inclusion. An AI would have issues expressing our experience. In order for it to do so, it has to have that kind of information, that kind of algorithm. So in its construct, we too have to be at the table to give our experience. So the level of discrimination that can and does occur, it ceases or minimizes. So inclusion is very important. You have to include yourself. Don't sit silent. If you have a child with an issue, advocate for your child. Speak up. Seek the information. Go to institutions like what Kenneth administers over. They have the knowledge. You can walk in. Plain old walk in. I yield.
Karen, you have any to add on this question before I go on to the other question? Okay, so
If we do, if
go ahead. Oh, sorry,
let's
Brother
make
Kirk.
one point. No, that's okay. We need to know. So the advocacy is important because in terms of treating with the situation and how to approach it and how to bring our solution using that technology. I always would bring the word technology into everything that we're speaking about this morning. That's just me because, you know, that's probably my pet peeve. So, you know, as Patrick has given the entire explanation, even though I remember talking about games, I remember years ago when Mortal Kombat came out, it wasn't accessible, but it was a very, very good game. Exciting. Now Mortal Kombat is accessible. I was reading an article on PlayStation 5, which is accessible.
So,
So,
Karen, while you're here for this question, I want to treat it one time as your mic is open. Someone who is currently employed goes blind or is low vision. How can we accommodate that person to be retooled and accommodate and continue in the workplace than going home on some type of invalidity grant?
firstly, we'll be discouraging the point of going home. Continue working because we enjoy your work until you retire. Now, at the TTBWA level, we're encouraging persons to be retooled. Yeah, maybe because we have some testimonials, we had some testimonials, I'm not sure if they're online, where persons have been retooled and back out to work, and they are working. They came, received the training, received the technology training, and went back out to work. They would apply reasonable, the employers would give reasonable, once you give reasonable accommodation, right? For example, you give you have equity. This word is a big word, equity. Equality, yes, persons will have access to technology. Yes, all persons in the office, for example, will have access to a computer. But equity is where the person who is blind or visually impaired would get the screen reader access, the screen magnifier access, the braille display access, etc. So where they will be able to function now effectively and efficiently and contribute to society. So we are encouraging persons to come and join the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association, register as a client, come and receive the training and go back out there and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, so Patrick, you may have experienced people going blind on the job. They have mortgage to pay, children to send to school and so on. They go on low vision or maybe totally blind. For many reasons. What does that person do to remain relevant?
That's such a hard one because they first have to get over that psychological part of the whole mix. I'm now blind. My honest advice, because at present I'm working with several individuals in that realm, over the age of 60, who are now in the realm of totally blind. And it can be a traumatic period in a person's life. Having vision for a while, being productive on a particular level, and now having to face the challenge of low vision or no vision. You got to get yourself back in the ball game. And you do so first by doing so in your mind. You got to stand up in your mind first and foremost and understand that this is a challenge that you can circumvent. It's a challenge. It's not an end, it's a challenge. And my mother always said if the mountain were smooth, you wouldn't be able to climb it. So it's a challenge. Again, when you're at that stage and you feel closed in, especially in your mind, you need to be able to access without. That's where accessibility comes in. The gentleman, I'll use him as an example, was 92 years of age.
Wow.
Lost his vision and was just laying there on his bed, staring but not seeing up in the ceiling and twiddling his thumb. A storehouse of resource and knowledge lies within the brain of this 92-year-old. And he wants to churn out things, but he can't. How can he? A simple iPhone was introduced to him, and I taught him how to navigate. One of the first things he started doing was communicating with his great-grands.
Wow.
He could FaceTime them, and they could see him. Wow, Grandpa. He couldn't see them, but he could communicate with them.
Mhm.
The next thing he said, Patrick, I need to do my memoirs. You got two ways you can do that. You can talk and dictate and it'll write it out, or you can just talk and it'll record you. And then we can put that recording in a transcriber and it'll transcribe it out to English.
Mhm.
Get out of here. Yes, sir. So he embarked on his memoirs. There's a gentleman by the name of Wilbert Williams.
Wow, that's a brother.
Mr. Williams
Yeah.
was an immaculate professional in the realm of physiotherapy.
Mhm.
I gave Mr. Williams the knowledge, screen reader. He got it, he took it, he ran with it, and he went back and got his master's degree. He took that knowledge and that degree and petitioned government, and government gave him a property where he established the Abilities Foundation, the only organization of its kind in the Western Hemisphere where you had multiple disabled people under one roof learning. I took over the IT department and I had up to 40 students with various disabilities in that one classroom. Not only did I teach them how to use the computer, let's go further. Let's pull it apart and build a few. So we learned and we taught. And in teaching, the realm of knowledge expands. The youngsters, if given the access and the tools, they can run. The tools are there, the access is there. However, now, there are dangers, warning, warning, warning. Do not be too dependent on the tools. There's still the basic that you have to deal with. Braille, it comes back always to Braille. If you can't see and you have no vision, use Braille still, as advanced and as technical as I may be. I get my letters and my bills. Oh, this is my bill for May for telephone. Let me grab my brailler and I type telephone bill May,
Right.
and it's on that bill.
Mhm.
Easy to find. Don't have to ask nobody. Don't have to scan nothing. Just reach in and touch it. Oh, this is the bill for June. Oh, I want April's bill. Here you go. Bing. So we come back always to the basic and
Yes.
access. So it's
Yes.
access, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah, so Janelle, is there any questions in the chat before we open up the microphones?
Yes, there is one question in the chat from Trisha Bruce Phillip,
Mhm.
and she's asking, what technology is available to bring diagrams in tactile forms for the totally blind child, considering real-time delivery?
But like Patrick or Karen, you want to take? There's something called the Monarch. It is very
I was
expensive.
going to mention about that one as well.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very expensive, Trisha, but it gives you real time.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's a cost factor. I think probably close to 100,000 for it probably now. Well, probably about 20,000 US, I think. I think that's the last quoted price. So yeah.
You
So
probably go back to the part of joining using beans.
yeah. So Janelle, could you open up the microphone so people could jump in and ask the panelists questions? So you can free up the microphone. You let us know when it is done, Janelle.
Okay.
It free up now?
Yes, it is. Participants could unmute themselves. You heard me, Mr. Surratt?
Not sure if he dropped out.
Huh?
I'm not sure if he
You
dropped
dropped
out.
out?
I not hearing him.
Oh, yes, are you hearing me now?
Okay, good. Yeah, we hear
Right,
you.
yes.
Yeah.
So, and if
We're
it
hearing
just
you.
hit Alt A and you'll be able to unmute your microphone.
He's here. He's asked, can we hear him? We can hear you, Patrick.
Yes.
Right. We have a question?
I don't have a question. This is Tito Howard out of Gainesville, Florida. I just want to add something to the conversation. You all are saying about inclusion. I want to add the word. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
Soon as I had the word, soon as I'm about to say it, it goes out my head. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll come back as soon as I think of my word.
Not a problem. Okay, next.
Kenneth, I have a couple of things to add. I mean, we
Could you
spoke
state your
about.
name? Could you state your name, please? And
Sorry,
ask-
my name is Rishi. I'm from Trinidad.
Mhm.
And I would like to add to the conversation more than a question, because I think we touched on accessibility for everyday living. I think we talked about access to technology in the workplace and making things accessible. However, what I would like to add is that technology is not only available. I mean, we touched a bit on entertainment, but didn't go very into much of the main factor of, not everybody plays games, right?
Mhm.
In terms of let's say for instance, I was introduced to a technology that there was a solar eclipse some time ago, and someone introduced a technology that was able to hear what was going on from that perspective. That might be a hobby of somebody when wanting to know what is going on in the realm of the celestial factor, right? um where you can now sit and you could actually listen to that. Now, I found that very interesting because I was like, I did not even know you could actually do this. Being who I am also a technology specialist of my own, right? Communication tech by trade, music producer, sound engineer, and radio engineer by trade. Um, and all of these factors, I mean, we have accessibility in the workplace, such as offices and schools, as well as home, and all of these different places. The entertainment industry as well very has very bit has been very much transformed into a much accessible place. I work in the entertainment industry on a daily basis, in terms of music technology, where we have accessible keyboard, we have accessible um, audio interfaces and things that are becoming much more accessible. Like when music started as well, they were cutting tapes and whatever, and to make records, and to record music. But now we have things that is digital, which has been transformed into digital, and it was not much accessible. Now there is, right?
Okay, Rishi, I say what, because we want to wrap up at 11 today. If you don't mind, if you could give way as we
Sure.
just say that's okay. Okay, anyone else? If anybody else have any question or statement for the panels, I want to make sure that everyone who is on the chat get an opportunity.
I just want to make a point, Karen, here. Yeah.
Mhm.
In addition to what we're talking about this morning, Rishi mentioned, we have audiobooks as well. So sometimes we may not want to take in a game, but we might want to listen to a nice audiobook. And we have audio descriptive movies, Netflix. Netflix now we have audio, they have the account and so on. Just turn on the description. So,
But Patrick is making a point, while we have technology and so on, do not give way to your natural ability. Like some people may use GPS app to navigate and so on. Don't depend on technology. Always go back to basic and make sure you're the basic, if it's braille or your basic orientation skill, your mobility skill, make sure that the basic is always there in the event that technology fails. Because when I travel, I always have all my information on braille paper. I know my phone could go dead at the time when you need it the most, or it just freeze when you need it the most. But the good old braille It's always there for I to check my flight number, boarding, whatever information is needed, what hotel I'm going in. I will always keep that information going basic. And that is something persons who are blind, while technology is good and is great, still ensure that the basic skill set is there. Anyone else want to add to the
Yes,
conversation?
Kenneth.
Yes,
you
Mr.
hear me?
Surat.
Mr. Lakanikala, Mr. Ragu, and then you comment.
Yes, yeah.
Mr. Ragu?
Yeah, good day, members. I want to ask the panel about the possibility of advocating for fiscal policy in terms of tax incentives, breaks, whatever it may be, as an incentive for the private sector in particular to facilitate or encourage employment of persons who are visually impaired. If that is an option, I think we should pursue vigorously, since we are now getting off the ground in terms of open employment, more or less. Thank you.
Patrick, in the States, how do technology get into the hands? Because technology for the blind is very expensive. What means or methods are available in the state that's something we can learn from and introduce it, as Mr. Ragu stated?
Government subsidy. And it will depend on whether your governments of your respective country will subsidize these equipment, and also will the private sector be a part of this subsidization. One of the things that's incumbent on us to do as a visually impaired community, though, yeah, I'll hire you, but what kind of proof do you have that you can do what you say you can do? What kind of record of performance can you show me? Because that's a natural and a fair thing to request. So it is incumbent on your side of the fence to make yourself and bring yourself to that level of ability, competence, so you can be economically viable and compete against your quote, unquote, able-bodied competitor. Yeah.
Yeah, but Patrick, there's the point. I remember in the early days when persons who are blind started getting work at the higher level in blind welfare, they had to buy their own tools. And I remember in those days, laptop was very expensive, and one of our colleagues had to pay $10,000 from his get a loan because he started with his full salary. There was no tool for him to function. Yet, the association in those days. And I told myself, once I'm executive officer here, when I came in here, that will never happen again. So how in a workplace scenario, while sighted people may have the tools to work, but someone who's blind comes in, shouldn't that company or I want that experience in the United States. How
Well,
Mhm.
in the US,
Mhm.
there are mandatory laws.
Right.
ADA, mandatory.
We go back to
And-
legislation.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
And departments like the Department of Education will have departments like Division of Blind Services that will provide services to the blind and low vision on various levels in terms of equipping for even medical purposes, a walker, a cane, something for your independent living. For schooling, they'll provide tuition assistance. They'll provide equipment in order for the person to pursue the education. And on the other level, even for employment, they'll facilitate training as well as placement, as well as equipping the individual. So it's a different entire paradigm within a developing country as opposed to a first world developed countries with rules and regulations. What's needed on our side of the fence in the basin, in the Caribbean region and other regions that are not as advantageous with the kind of economy to provide those sort of things, is to develop partnerships between public and private sector. And in addition to these partnerships, it is also incumbent on the organizations that deal directly and specifically with the disabled community to up their game also. And in order to do so, they too will need resources. So it's a hand in hand situation, and it has to work hand in hand. And with certain rules and regulations in place, like the Disabilities Act, it makes it far more a designable and far more navigatable process. So it's just for the players to identify themselves, be identified, so they too can be accessed for resources. And when identified, if not they themselves pursuing advocacy, we now know whom to advocate for and with, and whom to partner with also.
Mr. Sipasad Lakan?
Yes, good morning again, everyone. Lakan Sipasad here. I heard Trisha Bruce Phillip ask about the tactile, and you spoke about the Monarch. My question was really, we have a lot of children or students who's into academic institutions, whether it be primary, secondary, or tertiary. And we have this concept of mathematics that needs to be taught. But based on the technology we have available in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm yet to see a software that is going to be reading and giving back information at mathematical levels like algebra, expressions and equations and things like that. Is there any available that you could point us to, or any kind of software or app that speaks to what I'm talking about?
Patrick, if you could broaden not only mathematics, but the whole science, the whole 9 yards. How could persons who are blind, in the past, you were encouraged to get involved in the music. But now persons who are blind want to try out, they don't want to be another musician or another singer or another what already exists. They want something new. How could someone who is blind really benefit from getting involved in the sciences?
I had the occasion to meet a professor of chemistry from the University of Indiana who's totally blind and who is a professor of chemistry. It blew my mind first and foremost when I was introduced to this gentleman, because I'm saying, chemistry? You have to apply yourself to mixtures and all of them kind of stuff. And it's not just theoretical. How do you apply? And he said, with accessibility tools. I have tools that I can stick in fluids that'll tell me all kinds of everything. And I'll even just take it to a simple tool. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with, and if you're not, it's called a liquid level identifier. Use a 9-volt battery, you stick it on this unit, and this unit has 2 prongs, metal prongs that you just hang on the cup. The 2 prongs are inside, and the unit with the battery is outside. You pour the fluid inside the cup, and as soon as it reaches those 2 prongs, it beeps. Beep. So there are tools again, ladies and gentlemen, that are out there that are amazing. Tactile tools, audio tools. I have a friend who's into electronics. He still solders and he still uses saws and all kinds of stuff, check meters. Yes, there is a VO meter that's audible. He can check the volts and the impedance and everything. Like, wow. Tools are available. So you can still be a part of the game.
Kenneth,
But continue, Lakan.
I just want to bring it back to the question I asked. I know you expanded to sciences, and I understand that there are tools for the sciences, but I'm speaking in context of using screen reading softwares to access information, access books, and so on, what software could read mathematical equations? Because literature reads horizontally, but mathematical equations sometimes reads vertically. And the screen reading software, I don't know if I missed something, but is there any particular software that or format can be used to do that on a
Remind me of your
computer?
name, good sir.
Lakan Sipasad.
Well, good sir, there's a thing called artificial intelligence. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. You can put all kinds of things in, let's say, Chat GPT, and express how you would like it to be expressed, and it would give you that information, sir. It's amazing. Tell you a little
Okay.
secret. Tell you a little secret.
Listening.
I had a presentation that I had to do a few weeks back, and it was based on certain evaluation and meetings by committees and all of that. And I got back 2 documents, sir. One was a 28-page PDF, and one was a 25-page Excel document with all kinds of figures and numbers. Sir?
Yeah.
The presentation was a day later at 10 a.m. A 28-page and a 25-page document. Google affords assistance with a tool called Google Notes LM.
Mm-hmm.
Drop them 2 bad boys at Google Notes LM, and it came out with a podcast of 2 people discussing everything in the document the way I wanted it to be discussed. And I got it. I went to that meeting and I killed. Woof. Blind boy got through. Done it.
So but Patrick, you say someone is in school and they're going through the process of learning mathematics.
It can explain it and break it down in
Okay.
an audio form for you. It's like
Okay.
somebody sitting there and telling you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you follow the audio along with the document,
Mm-hmm.
you can follow. And
Okay.
then if you're in any Windows program on your Windows PC and you have issues with anything concerning the application, you hold down the Alt key, you hit the Q key, and it comes up with an edit field and you type what you want. What's happening with this program? How do I do this? How do I get that information? Windows will give you several options in terms of an answer that you can choose related to your question.
Okay.
I've seen something called reading about something called math.
One minute, correct. 1 minute, correct. I just want to ask if anybody else have any question
Okay.
before, if it's okay with you. Anybody have any question? Because we're coming up to the end of this webinar. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
See, I was reading about something called Math Kicker. It's Kicker? I think that is that. So it seems to be that it seems to be that there's like a game changer now. So I get more information on that, we will probably exploit in terms of accessibility, math accessibility.
Mm-hmm. But Patrick, before we reach that level, I'm also Lakan will be focusing on getting the concept as a building block where you start with sums, the division, multiplication, and subtraction as you go along as a child along the spectrum. And because you need to get that concept in your head, because we like I'll give you a simple example. We have people who maybe could talk about something, but we have to show them it as the person who is blind to get the concept in their head how it is. Or you might be talking about a car. They might spell the word car, but you put a miniature car in their hand and they don't know it is a car. So we have to also look at, from a low tech, if you want to call it that way, concepts, understanding concepts as we move along the number line.
Perfectly understood. I had an experience once where I introduced a youngster. He was about 12 years old, 13, maybe 14. And I took his hand and placed it on the back of a horse.
Mhm.
He was like, wow, this is what a horse feels like, looks like. I didn't know they were this big because his concept was that little small caricature of a horse that he held in his hand.
Mhm.
So, our world, our tactile world, is first and foremost. That is how we see. So, it comes back again to the basic. You
Yes.
cannot ignore the basic. If all else fails, it's just like your cane. You have all kinds of tools out there. You can put on the Meta Ray-Ban glasses for $300 and say, take me out of this room. Where's the exit? And it'll direct you to the exit. You can have canes that'll do that. You have dogs that are AI that'll do that. But if all of that sucker fails, you have to reach into your bag and pull out your cane and unravel it and tap your way out. Jamaicans can understand when you say vex money. My cane is my vex money. I don't have to
Right.
sit there and wait on you. I can take out my cane and go about my business.
Mhm.
The same way with Braille. Somebody give you a number, you need to jot it down to be able to access it, and you don't have a recording device. You Braille it. It's always there.
So concepts we agree that initially the person, like for instance, you might have a document and somebody might say you hit select all and all be to bold. They might know the command, but they don't know what is the concept of bold because they're born blind from birth. So it's important that we have tactile lettering. Not because you are blind, you should not be exposed to the printed raised letters. So you know what a number 5 look like, or a capital A or common B, what it looks like. That is important, Karen and Patrick, as we, to close up this session about concepts that leads into technology so you could really get the most out of it. Patrick?
Read 100%.
Mhm.
You have to start from basic, especially
Yeah.
if it's a child. You have to give them that knowledge. And our touch, that's our eyes. We see through our touch.
All right, so
Yeah,
Karen,
so
you
I agree.
if you want, make a statement and closing remarks, please.
No problem. So I agree that the concepts is important because, I remember teaching persons how to use a laptop, and I mean they're newly blind and they don't know what, for example, how the desktop is arranged in terms of the icons and the wallpaper and taskbar and so on. So I had to use the concept of probably a wall at home where you have plaques on your wall and you have a little bar. Sometimes you paint a bar at the bottom of your wall where your wall meet your floor. So explain that as the taskbar and then talk about the icons, concept, and so on for them to understand. And it worked. It worked very well. So, in the closing remarks and statement today, I really appreciate this webinar. I really appreciate what we did today. And I always say if we reach one, we change the life of one, and that one could reach many. And I just want to say thank you very much for each and every one of you, all who joined us. The moderator Patrick for joining us as well, and the international persons, local persons, Caribbean persons on this webinar today. I'm sure that if probably, as the guy said, if you don't know, now you know. So you leave here with knowing in your mind, technology, we can use technology to take care of our daily lives and advancement and recreation, social life, work-wise, school life, and so on, where the advancement is there. So again, embrace the technology. We have that's a great place to go, and the sky is the limit.
Thank you very much. Patrick? Closing remarks?
The village raised a child. what's echoing in my mind. And if you yourself do not have a child, but you live in a village where there is a child with a visual challenge, be empathic, be understanding, be assistive. It's not about technology, it's about give knowledge. Give knowledge. It's a beautiful world. We do have challenges. And again, my mother said if the mountain were smooth, we would not be able to climb it. So it is these challenges that stretches us, that gives us motivation, innovation, and allow us to conquer. Let each child live and grow to his or her full potential and impact the world in a positive way despite the challenges. The older community who are entering in the world of low vision and blindness, do not cease. You have knowledge that you can pass on. With tools, you too can have access to pass on this knowledge. And finally, never ever forget the foundation by which access is given. In that way, you'll understand and apply and move ahead to that other level of independence. Thank you for the opportunity to share and to receive knowledge from everyone here. Truly appreciate it. God bless everyone and keep sighted.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for giving us your time of your information and your experience. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Karen Gunness, thank you very much for the time you have given us on this webinar. And to all the listeners, the participants, thank you all very, very, very much. And do have a wonderful day. Take care and goodbye.